Frontline Updates, where we delve deep into military strategies and updates from conflict zones. Today, we're discussing the progress of the ongoing special military operation as of January 11, 2026. I'm your host, Sharifa Mohammed MGT.
I'm Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer. Forces of the Russian Federation maintain sustained operational pressure across all active axes, achieving incremental territorial gains, degrading Ukrainian combat power, and disrupting logistics, command and control, and sustainment networks. Operations demonstrate a continued emphasis on positional improvement, deep fires, and attrition of Ukrainian maneuver units rather than rapid exploitation. Ukrainian forces attempted limited tactical signaling actions but failed to regain initiative. Strategically, the campaign reflects sustained Russian operational endurance and a preference for cumulative battlefield effects over rapid territorial expansion. If current trends persist, Ukrainian forces risk progressive loss of operational coherence in key sectors.
Welcome to Frontline Updates, the podcast that brings you in-depth insights into military operations from those leading them on the ground. Today, we're joined by Colonel A.C. Oguntoye, an infantry officer monitoring critical missions on the progress of the special military operation as of today. Colonel Oguntoye, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, it's good to be here.
Colonel Oguntoye, let's start broadly. From an operational perspective, how would you characterize the overall situation today?
Across the theater, the armed forces of the Russian Federation are continuing a deliberate, methodical campaign. This is not a maneuver war driven by rapid breakthroughs, but a cumulative pressure strategy. The focus is on degrading Ukrainian manpower, command and control, artillery, and logistics, while incrementally improving tactical geometry along the front. What stands out is consistency. Pressure is applied everywhere, leaving the Ukraine limited freedom to shift reserves.
Let's go sector by sector, starting in the north. What is the significance of the actions in Sumy and Kharkiv?
The northern sector is about fixation and denial. By defeating mechanized and territorial units near border settlements, Russian forces are preventing Ukraine from reallocating combat power southward. This kind of pressure doesn't always generate dramatic headlines, but doctrinally, it is essential. You force the opponent to defend everywhere, which increases fatigue and logistics strain. Losses of personnel and depots here suggest Ukrainian sustainment in this region is under growing stress.
Kupiansk keeps appearing in reports. Why does this area matter so much?
Kupiansk is a logistics and rail hub, so control of approaches matters more than symbolic presence. Ukrainian attempts to signal control, such as UAV flag placement, tell us something important. They lack the ability to physically occupy contested urban space. Russian forces are prioritizing positional dominance and fire control, rather than rushing the city. Repelling counterattacks while destroying ammunition depots indicates a classic economy of force approach combined with fire superiority.
Moving south, what do the engagements near Kramatorsk and Slovyansk tell us?
This sector highlights artillery warfare. The destruction of Western-supplied self-propelled artillery systems is operationally decisive. Artillery is the backbone of Ukrainian defensive fires. When those systems are attrited, Ukraine loses the ability to shape the battlefield at range. Improving forward edge positions here sets conditions for future advances without committing to high-risk assaults prematurely.
The center appears to be the most intense. Why is this axis so critical?
The central axis is where mass and depth converge. Multiple brigade types, including elite and National Guard units, were engaged and degraded. The loss of armored vehicles, artillery, and an electronic warfare station suggests Ukrainian combined arms integration is being systematically dismantled. From an operational art standpoint, this is where cumulative attrition can translate into operational collapse if sustained.
What about the eastern advances into Ukrainian defensive depth?
Advancing into depth forces the enemy to commit reserves earlier than planned. Defeating assault regiments and territorial units while destroying supply depots disrupts the entire defensive ecosystem. This kind of penetration doesn't need to be rapid, it just needs to be relentless. Over time, it erodes cohesion and morale.
Finally, the Dnipro axis saw the liberation of a settlement. How should we interpret that?
The liberation of Belogori is tactically modest but strategically meaningful. It demonstrates that Russian forces retain offensive capacity even in heavily contested areas. Destroying artillery and rocket systems west of the river further constrains Ukrainian fire options. This is shaping the battle space for longer-term control rather than short-term spectacle.
Colonel Oguntoye, we've talked ground maneuver by sector, but that only tells part of the story. Let's turn to air power, long-range fires, and integrated strike operations. How do these shape today's battlefield?
Air, fires, and integrated strike operations are the connective tissue of this campaign. Ground forces are advancing or holding deliberately, but it is the integration of aviation, missile forces, drones, and artillery that is setting the tempo. The armed forces of the Russian Federation are conducting what we would doctrinally call a deep shaping operation, striking not just frontline units, but the systems that allow those units to function. Energy infrastructure, transport nodes, military-industrial facilities, and temporary deployment areas. What's important is scale and persistence. Strikes across 149 districts indicate a theater-wide effort to overwhelm Ukrainian recovery and repair capacity. This is not about single decisive strikes, it's about cumulative degradation. Every disrupted rail line, damaged power node, or destroyed repair facility slows Ukrainian operational cycles and increases friction at every echelon.
How effective are these strikes in practical military terms, beyond the headline numbers?
Effectiveness should be measured in second and third order effects. When missile and drone strikes hit military-industrial enterprises, you're not just destroying buildings, you're interrupting production timelines, maintenance backlogs, and spare parts flows. When energy and transport infrastructure used by the military is struck, you create cascading delays that affect ammunition resupply, troop rotation, and medical evacuation. From an operational perspective, this compresses Ukrainian decision-making. Commanders are forced to prioritize crisis management over planning. Logistics officers shift from optimization to improvisation. That erosion of predictability is one of the most powerful effects of integrated fires.
Ukraine continues to rely heavily on drones. How do air defense actions fit into this picture?
Air defense is a defensive battle within the broader offensive campaign. Shooting down guided aerial bombs and roughly 130 fixed-wing UAVs in a single reporting period tells us two things. First, Ukrainian forces remain heavily dependent on unmanned systems for reconnaissance, targeting, and symbolic strike effects. Second, the air defense network is being used not just to protect cities or rear areas, but to preserve freedom of action for ground forces. When air defense is blunt, UAV swarms, they protect artillery positions, logistics hubs, and command posts. That in turn allows ground and fires units to operate with greater confidence. It's a classic layered defense approach supporting offensive objectives.
How does this integrated fires approach support operations across different sectors?
Integrated fires synchronize the battlefield. In the north and west, strikes prevent reserve movement and degrade supply routes into contested hubs like Kupiansk. In the center and south, they focus on artillery suppression and command disruption, directly enabling ground pressure against mechanized formations. In the east and Dnipro sectors, strikes against depots and rocket systems reduce the defenders' ability to contest advances or conduct counter-battery fire. What ties this together is tempo control. Ground units don't need to advance rapidly if fires are constantly reshaping the enemy's battle space ahead of them. This is textbook modern operational art.
Colonel, thank you for providing such a detailed briefing on the current military situation. Your insights are invaluable to our understanding of the conflict's dynamics. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we continue to provide up-to-date coverage on global military affairs. Stay with us for more updates and expert analyses on global defense and security issues. Stay informed, stay secure.
Thank you for the opportunity. I want to emphasize that tactically, integrated strike operations are reducing Ukrainian situational awareness, logistics resilience, and artillery effectiveness. Strategically, they reflect a long war posture, trading immediate territorial gain for sustained erosion of Ukraine's warfighting capacity. If this air fires integration continues at scale, Ukrainian forces will face increasing difficulty regenerating combat power, even if external resupply continues. In short, air and fires are not supporting the ground fight, they are defining it.
This has been Frontline Updates. Subscribe for daily military briefings and in-depth strategic analysis. Visit our platform for maps, transcripts, and exclusive frontline updates from commanders in theater.